There's this one feature in Kerala that sets it apart from almost every other part of the subcontinent. If you zoom into a map of rural India, you'll see a very clear pattern. See these dimples? Each of them is a cluster of houses forming a village. And notice the fields or the farmlands which are located around the cluster. This is called a nucleated settlement, and you'll find this across the country, whether it's UP or Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, in fact, even in neighboring Pakistan. But when you get to Kerala, things look a little different. The houses here are more scattered, with each one sitting in its own plot of land or farmland. Now, this is called a dispersed settlement. Nucleated is more common in regions with water shortage. Historically, that meant having a centralized irrigation system, so it made sense to keep the fields together. Kerala, though, has abundant rainfall, so we never really needed centralized irrigation, and as a result, the land holding here became more parcelled. But what does this have to do with Matriliny? Turns out, land relations do impact social relations. Because centralized irrigation was a huge project, it was often undertaken by the king or the ruler, who ended up owning the land, and he would lease it out to the cultivating peasants. In Kerala, because there was no need for centralized irrigation, land came to be owned by not the king or the ruler, but by the tribes or the clans who were cultivating it. This was not private, but kinship-based property. But by the medieval era, a major shift takes place in Kerala. By the 8th century, the Nambudiri Brahmins who had migrated to Kerala from the north restructured the region into a temple agrarian economy, and they took over the ownership of most of the land along with a few Nair elites. They created a Brahmin oligarchy under which all land was either Devaswam, meaning temple owned, or Brahmaswam, Brahmin owned. This was called the Janmam system, one of the most exploitative forms of land ownership, with the Nambudiri Janmis or overlords at the top and Dalit slave labor at the bottom. Now, for this landowning class or castes, a key problem arose. How do you prevent the division of property or estates with every subsequent generation? Now, these two landowning castes of Nambudiri Brahmins and Nair elites had two different solutions. For the Nairs, the answer was their traditional system of Matriliny and Sambandham. Property was held within the Tarawad, the ancestral household of the Nairs, and it was passed through the female line instead of being divided into smaller nuclear units. For Nambudiri Brahmins, the answer was primogeniture. Only the eldest male married within the caste and produced a legitimate heir. The younger Nambudiri sons, they formed Sambandhams with Nair women. Now, the children formed from these unions lived with their mother's Tarawad or ancestral household, and they could not claim any rights, ownership or inheritance from their father. So this prevented the Brahmin property from fragmenting, and for Nair families it was a way to increase their social status and political alliance. But these relationships were not free or equal, they were governed by very strict caste rules. A woman could form sambandhams only with a man of an equal or higher caste, called hypergamy or the Anulom system. Being with a lower caste man could result in excommunication or even execution by her own family members. So behind Matriliny was a complicated system that linked land, caste, inheritance and sexual access. In part 3, we'll see how this arrangement began to break down when colonial law, social reform and internal conflicts reshaped both family and property in Kerala.